This is Beyond Perception, where it's all about breaking out of limited perception and waking up to our creative genius, our human potential, our true self. I'm Simon Rilling, and it is a true honor to welcome Reinhard Flatischler today. Born in 1950 in Vienna, he completed studies at the University of Music and Performing Arts in Vienna and started his career as a classical concert pianist. He studied with master drummers from all continents, is a member of the scientific committee in the International Society for Music and Medicine, composer of the orchestral suite Waves Upon Waves and Space Beyond Space, and lead performer with the Auckland Philharmonia and Auckland Choral Society. Reinhard is the author of 4 books, such as Rhythm for Evolution, and composer, producer of 8 award-winning albums, all bestsellers in the realm of rhythm-focused music and regarded as standard music literature. His unique work bridges the domains of education, therapy, coaching, high-end performance, and meditation practices with his compositions and his educational approach. Reinhard has fundamentally influenced the European drums and percussion scene. The media repeatedly describes him as the ambassador of the global language of rhythm. He's the founder of MegaDrums and TaKeTiNa, where he educates people to explore and train and experience rhythm with their main instrument, the body. He's also the host of the Power of Rhythm podcast, where he speaks with world-class performers and trendsetters in rhythm-based music to educate about the transformative, healing, and creative power of rhythm expression. Welcome to the show, Reinhard.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Super cool. When I was researching you, I was intrigued by your quote, "Rhythm is the most fundamental power of life." How did you discover rhythm?
Well, I had to because when I grew up, I had heavy asthma, heavy heart arrhythmia, and also depression. And then on the other side, I studied piano with the age of 4. That means I was playing very early on concerts, but my whole life was more or less in chaos. And I knew intuitively I have to find a remedy. And then when I embarked later in my teenage years to learn from master drummers around the world, I started to understand, yes, there is a big remedy in life, which is rhythm, but I didn't know how to access it. I played the drum, but still it didn't change so much in my life. I played piano. Still it didn't change. It brought me joy, but it didn't heal my asthma or my heart arrhythmia. Mm-hmm. And then intuitively I thought there must be a place where rhythm in nature, rhythm in the body, and rhythm in music meet. And that should also be the place where all the different cultures have a common ground. Because if you listen to, like, say, African, Korean, Indian music, European music, they sound so different that you say, wait a minute, is this based on the same principles or is this all different? But then, you know, all the people around the globe have a heartbeat, they breathe. So there must be some common correlations that, all connected through rhythm. So I started to question very deeply, is everyone able to access rhythm, or are there arrhythmical people? The answer to that is no. No one is arrhythmical. Everyone is rhythm, because rhythm is the fundamental expression of our existence. If you see green or yellow, there are 2 frequencies triggering your retina in a different way. So basically you're perceiving 2 rhythms. Everything comes down to rhythm, from the frequencies of the sounds to the oscillation of the particles to the movements of the planets. So what was my task, and really the hard shell to knack? It was to find what is at the core, what would you, where everything meets, and that's primary rhythmic movements. that is when you play anything, a drum and piano, you have a lot of things that sound, but if you stop it, then you hear something continuing. And what continues in the non-audible but tangible is pulsation, cycle, and subdivision. 3 primal forces. So I was clear when I found this, if you can connect to this, you are rhythm. You're not just learning rhythm, you are rhythm. But again, how to get there? Luckily, this was the 60s. People had time, people were so to experiment. And this was just a sequence of going to countries like Brazil, Cuba, Korea, India, and getting to know what they do and how they go about their rhythms. And then go back to Europe and have experiments with random people, housewives, truck drivers. I mean, everyone was there. Musicians as well. And so first we played with drums and we played with all kinds of instruments, and then there was no guidance. It was more so a jamming and was not really moving anywhere. Then, okay, I brought it just to a stick and a rattle. But even this was too much. And finally, I ended up with the body alone. And then I discovered something amazing. It's the simultaneous perception. If you go on 3 different rhythms with voice, clapping, and stepping, and if you can guide a group to that, then you're going into the void, into the empty space between those 3, and you're connected to all 3, and I call this simultaneous perception, which is the core of access to stillness, access to emptiness, actually. And emptiness for me is where everything in life can come out. Now, how to get there? And there I discovered yet another amazing thing, which is chaos. We don't like chaos, but you know, I think we don't differentiate enough between disorder and chaos. Disorder is frozen chaos. It's like you can do much with it, but chaos is an absolute central force in every living organism. Chaos has wisdom. Chaos guides you. So every living organism, I found out, and I mean it's known, of course, goes through constant alteration between chaos and order phases, and in this way evolves more and more and more. Now, how to put this in a process? This was the evolution of TaKeTiNa, where people are guided first, very simple, 1 layer, just a voice, mu, san, ga, la, a pulse, 4 syllables. Everyone can do that, right? Mm-hmm. Then 4 steps. Everyone can do that too. Maybe first a little stiff and so, but they can do that. And then comes another rhythm, syllables up, like gammala, gammala. And then comes another clap up. And latest at this moment, you lose the rhythm. So we have a drum that stabilizes the whole thing, so you can constantly lose it and come back and lose it and come back and lose it and come back. And every time you come back, you're more grounded, more flexible also. Because every time you lose it, you let go of rigidity. And they could be emotional, they could be physical, like tightening the muscles. And through this cascade of chaos and order phases, all of a sudden people fall into something they don't even know what it is. So they do something precisely. It means the knowledge they are manifesting through the body comes not out of a linear learning process, doesn't come out of a clever trick, doesn't come out of something like a willpower. No, it actually comes out of a setting in which chaos and order phases bring out the intelligence, the rhythmic intelligence inherent in everybody. And when we did this, we found out that so many people with psychosomatic problems got way better over time. So we started research in later years, you know. But I think I'm talking quite a lot right now.
Well, it's super interesting. Just keep listening, and like if you feel inspired, just go on. It's I mean, there's so many things to add on and hear more about.
Yeah, I mean, we did research, and this was I was very lucky to be born in the right time and had the time to develop. It's now 50 years of this work. I started this whole process in 1970, and it was funny that 2020 it's 50-year celebration, Corona, and now I understood actually that this was the biggest blessing of all, because before I was touring 2 times the whole globe, like going around the globe, Brazil, US, Australia, every year 2 times. And there is no time to make online content, make enough nice, you know, video. And now since April, when I came back from Brazil with the last flight, I'm sitting here in my studios and I have kind of brought TaKeTiNa now on a completely new level, where people can also just watch and see it and get inspired by films, which didn't exist up to now. There was just a real physical experience that, you know, people said, wow, after 3 days, I feel like I am rhythm. So they told others. So I didn't even do much of a PR over 50 years. I didn't go on Facebook and Instagram. It's a more recent thing, because it worked just like this now. And now a new phase comes up, as we know. I've just been teaching the Australian training and the Brazilian training completely online, and it worked. And I was amazed that it really worked, you know, because once you have the code how to approach it, and you could say TaKeTiNa is a code how to go about the rhythm experience, how to open that lock that now opens the experience of I am rhythm. And with this, everything that I had in the young age, like asthma, heart arrhythmia, etc., completely gone. Now, I had a Navy SEALs training with Mark Devine for 14 days. Pushing me over every border. I am a diver, being an asthmatic. That's pretty amazing. And it's only because of the work with TaKeTiNa, actually. And TaKeTiNa also has then the knowledge where it goes into the TaKeTiNa symphonic, orchestral work. MegaDrums is also based on, basically it's a code that I kind of decoded to find how to access rhythm on a completely new way, because, you know, I was always frustrated as a kid. They're telling me about this cake. So this is the whole cake. Now we split it in 2 and in 4, and it's the 8th note. I say, what the heck are talking about the cake? What has this to do with music? And then I asked, what is meter and what is bar? And no one really could explain it to me. I mean, they could define it, but they couldn't give me a physical experience of that. And that really brought me to the point to say, from the side of the health, from the side of the music, let me find this profound access to rhythm.
Wow, that's amazing. Many questions coming up. So when I look back at my own life, for the most part of my life, I was completely rational, controlled, detached from my own body or even voice. And I wouldn't really want to move, dance, or sing because I thought that's just not for me and I would be or look ridiculous. And you just mentioned it before, like, is rhythm something natural? Is that accessible to all of us? Is like, can you be wrong? Or is it like, are there like, because I mean, when I look around, I mean, here in the Western culture, my wife is from Mexico. There, it's very different. Like we're so detached from moving and using our bodies. And so, my question to you, like, this is something we can all experience and access.
We cannot only experience the excess, we are that. This is the real thing. We are it. We cannot even escape it now. But having said this, it is quite amazing when I look back. And we had all the drums laid out, and people would come, and this was like, remember the 60s, like we had parties, and we smoked dope, and everyone come in and then played, and you know. But if you recorded it, which we did several times, it sounded horrible. It didn't move ahead. So also, you are a deeply rhythmic human being. We've got something as a bonus from the creator, which is you can have a free will, you can think. Now, thinking is a very, very beautiful sword, but it has two edges. One is, if you're very still and just one thought comes up, that's beautiful. If you're thinking at home and it goes all around, compulsive thinking, blah, 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 and it repeats it and repeats itself, that fills you up and cuts you off the here and now. So what we can do as only as only beings on this planet is resist synchronization. If you hear frogs, I have a pond out there and with frogs. So they go like a quack, quack, quack forever, you know, always synchronized. And I mean, there are little chaos phases, but they never fall out. They're always, one starts and everyone goes pop, 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 pop. But I've never heard one frog doing quack, 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 quack. Now, that doesn't happen because they cannot resist synchronization, so they cannot create. That means, on the contrary, we can do this. We can resist synchronizations. But unless you're really born and constantly exposed to the rhythmic experience, which no one of us has, that gets closed down again, and you need a code to open it up. Now, just playing a drum, yeah, it opens the door a little bit, but it doesn't open it that way that you feel like, I am rhythm. So what TaKeTiNa does, it gives you that knowledge back, I am rhythm, because the people are in like they come, have no clue about rhythm, have no prior rhythm experience or musical experience, even practical. And in 3 days, they're in 3 layers, in a polyrhythm 3 and 5, which actually even a musician would find difficult. So they know this cannot be a trick or trained.
That's super interesting. And would you, if like when you say they know they are rhythm, or so it's like you also, I think you referred to becoming one with rhythm. Is that an altered state of consciousness? Is that a trance? Like, are you like how like is that like or like do those words make sense at all? Because
I mean, some people would describe this as trance, but what is trance? There's so many connotations around trance, you know, that I even don't want to touch it, because some have this impression you're jumping around like crazy, don't know where you are. And no, it is actually, what it is your human home, where it's completely still and moving, where you're beyond, and that's merging with your podcast, beyond, where you're beyond the dichotomy of polarities. See, we're always pulled and pushed between the dichotomies of polarities. Yes, no. And in some instances, but very few instances, this makes sense. If you go and now your path splits into something that goes to the right side, a road goes to the right side, a road that goes to the left side. You need to make a decision, either this or that. But if we have a talk with the mindset, either you or me, because we discuss something that is hot, and so either you or me. That's always calling for a war, for a fight, so or making love or making music. You cannot be in the state of either me or you. You have to be in both things at the same time, or many things at the same time. Now, there's something in our life called multitasking, which is not at all what I'm talking about, because multitasking goes very fast from one event or whatever it is, mailing or writing, to the other, and back and forth and back and forth. So first of all, it's very strenuous that you go so fast around, but then also in the split second, you look to the other thing, you're missing that. And then you look to here, then you miss the other thing. In simultaneous perception, which I call this human home, where TaKeTiNa leads you to, you are in the emptiness, in the void, where you're connected to everything. That's why you can keep 3 or even 4 or 5 rhythms alive and even variate them all the time. That is intentionally not even possible. You can only put the trajectory and let it happen. And if that is happening, if you are in the state, which is a physical state, it's not just like, oh, maybe I was in meditation. No, it's really you clapping, you stepping, you singing, or you have even a rattle on the left and a click on the right, and then you're in 4 different rhythms, and they move and they go, and everything evolves. It's not just repetition, it goes on and on. First of all, you get so still while everything is moving. And that actually really brought up a very, very interesting experience, since we work for 20 years now with trauma patients. If you have a trauma patient, this person is highly agitated. Sitting still is nightmare for this person, because there would be this rigid kind of stillness in which the real chaos of movement is inside. Now, since we do TaKeTiNa with them, they're going in movement and they're going chaos, and they express whatever they express, and they get calmer and calmer and calmer. And like after a 2-hour set, they can quietly sit and talk. They do this in the Kliniken Heiligenfeld in Bad Kissingen, which are very famous for their treatments, for now 25 years actually.
Wow, that's super interesting. And I mean, like, I'm curious to hear you. Like, what I hear, a couple of things. I'm not sure if you've ever heard about the term natural law. There's law of polarity. There's law of vibration. There's law of what it is, like polarity, rhythm. There's law of rhythm too, and vibration, a couple of others. So, like, from what I understand, it's really about experiencing the laws of the universe, or nature, in a sense, or
Yeah,
possibly.
Even if that things that sounds like big words, that's actually the truth. What TaKeTiNa does, it connects you to laws. And so teaching, I'm also training people to learn to guide TaKeTiNa cycles. The most difficult thing is that you cannot just do like, oh, let's do it like this, let's do it like this. You are really bound to natural laws. And if you do steps that are not in alignment with this, the group goes nowhere. This is so strange. It's like a code. If you have the right code, if you do the right things at the right time, which always refers back to the law, then everything happens like magic. If you don't do that, people say, yes, why are we stepping? I don't want to talk so much. I don't want to clap. They'll bring all this don't want to up, while in the other thing, they're beyond the dichotomy of polarity. And I think this is one of the biggest trajectory that I would think that comes out of rhythm. Rhythm is polarity movement. And, there is a pulse. So you hear something and you're attracted to, here comes this snipping again. But listen to the in-between. The gap that separates that snipping. And when you kind of connect to both at the same time, the gap and the event, you are going beyond the dichotomy of polarity. And I believe being on this planet is the high school of learning about polarity. Man, woman, day, night, exhale, inhale, systole, diastole, all of this is all going in polarities, and all polarities move in a rhythm. And when I start to work with the physicians that have helped with or have set up even the research we were doing for 10 years, I was not believing what kind of orchestra lives within every human body, how the breath is connected to the heartbeat in a relation. Then this relation, which is basically 1 to 4, but it can alternate, then influences the hormone cycles, and all of that is all orchestrated. And if these rhythms come out of sync, then you get sick. So this was one thing I heard from many doctors I'm working with in the 80s already, because we started in the 80s already with Dr. Köpchen in Berlin. Health is always connected to rhythm. That means the nature's favorite transport mechanism of information is rhythm. And if the rhythm is distorted over a longer time, not just short, and rhythm always includes the chaos phase. It's not a rigid rhythm. It's a moving rhythm. You know, if you listen to a heartbeat that is so irregular, they say, oh my God, a healthy heartbeat is very irregular. And that was one thing we have been measuring, heart rate variability. And it's now a very, very hardcore scientific branch of chronomedicine, and they have our monitors, like heart rate variability monitors, in every intense care treatment in our hospitals here.
From what I remember is that the more like equal the beats are, the more stressed you are, literally, and the more of a fluctuation or a variability, the less stressed you are.
Yeah. Now this is also very interesting because there is this saying in Chinese medicine, when the pulse of the patient is like the woodpecker straight ahead, then he doesn't have to live maybe just 2 more days. Then, so the rigidity, complete rigidity means death. Now, but then go to the other end, like what happens in a heart rate when a heart goes out of sync, like you have heart arrhythmia. Most of the time, there's the sinus node, right? And then another cell says, I'm a sinus node too, and I want to fire too. And then another one says, I want to fire too. So it gets a real chaotic situation. And if it gets too chaotic, like here is too rigid, here is too flexible and too chaotic, you can certainly die from heart arrhythmia, you know. Then you get kind of a arrest, stillstand of the heart. So both of the things, if you play Mozart completely rigid, everyone says, nope, it's not Mozart. And if you play yetata, di-da-da, di-da-da, ti-ti-ta-ta, no, it's not Mozart either. So there is a realm where it is so pulsating in a way. See, groove means you are moving. It's not strict, but it's really that I am in the groove, I'm in the zone, means I'm now with chaos, order, and all together.
Super interesting. So if you, I mean, you have been studying this for so long. If you look at ancient cultures or maybe indigenous like tribes or so, like they have a very different lifestyle than we do. And if you look at like, I mean, you just said rhythm is related to disease, and in our civilization we have a lot of disease like related to aging, but then probably not just to aging, but maybe also to our lifestyle. And like, what would you see, like, think of like in terms of our lifestyle or how we live in the Western world? Like, how does that interfere with our rhythm? Or like, like like are we just by nature like rhythmic creatures, and just because of our lifestyle that like distracts us? Or
Yeah, of our decisions, we have got everything from the creator that we need. So it's not like, oh, we didn't get this or that. It's decisions. And see, one thing that is fading away more and more is resilience. In the new education, everyone, has a little crown, and everyone has done it right now. What I learned in the Navy SEALs training is to build up resilience, and that resilience, it really helps you in life-threatening situations. And it helps you to not get sick. For example, resilience exists in physiology, in emotions, and in mind. Someone, comes and gives you really bad day, talks horrible, and it's his problem, it's not my problem. So not getting entangled, not reacting on that saves a lot of my life energy. Then how do we go about our food? There's no right or wrong eating food. You can eat meat or not, in my opinion, or you can do this or that. But are you actually aware of what you're doing? Are you in the here and now when you eat? Are you grateful for your life every day? So I think that are the real important components, because there are many ways that people say, you have to live like this. No, you have to live like this, I would never listen to that. And someone telling you that, they would say, oh. But one thing is sure, you got the abundance of air, light. And so waking up with gratitude, I mean, why would I live if I don't reach that point? Being happy. And happy is now a very clear definition for me. It's a bliss happy, which means there's no reason for it. I didn't just win a new car or got a new job or someone tell me, oh, your composition is great. No, there's no reason. That's just you wake up, the nature wakes up, and you're so deeply grateful. You see the birds fly, you see, you feel the air. I think that is it. Because yes, of course, you need to work out. I mean, I'm 70, and in the gym, when I look at
just a quick comment. I would have thought you're like around 50, to be honest.
Well, thank you for that. But I feel like actually it's also the mindset. In one way, people around me would think I'm in a way childish, because I'm constantly doing crazy stuff and fooling around and asking people, "Hey, are you happy?"
And would you say this just comes naturally by
No.
by being connected to rhythm, or by
Yeah.
like going into the state, like as a result from that, you're dropping out of the mind or out of the programs. I need to do this, like because of what this person might think of me, or like achieve more stuff. And
I think yes. I think yes, this is true. But I want to refer also to, that's why I said no before. Getting in rhythm is really work. It's not like, oh, it just comes. I'm a natural being. Let's drum all together. We're all one. Most of those cycles, people drumming, and they have no really clue or no way how to really lock into a groove. It's just an intention, but it's not reality.
and how did you find like this exact recipe? Like did you go to like tribes? I don't know, like whatever, like, and
No,
was
actually, I
it
learned.
experimenting,
Yeah.
or?
No, I had, an existential motivation, I would say, through my disease to find the healing power of rhythm. And as I said, just playing rhythm wasn't really doing it already. So, and then I had also the luck to being born at the right moment. I could listen to so many. Of course, it was inspirational for me to see so many people doing rhythm in so many different ways. But that wouldn't have been enough. I had to atomize everything. I remember I was a part of an interesting event called Tal Vadya Utsav. The Indian government had invited music groups from all around the world, and there were two soloists, and one was Babatunde Olatunji, an African drummer who initiated Santana, and then me. And so we all performed, and then in the evening in the hotel, you know, there was like every floor there was different groups, and then they wanted to play with each other, of course, because you're together. And what stunned me amazingly, there was like this high-end performance that I saw from the Balinese and the Ugandan people and so on. And as soon as they tried to do something together, it just landed up in woo, 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 woo. So in the most simplified version of it, then I was thinking, seemingly they don't have the code how to connect because they live in so different, the expression, the individual expression has so different outcomes. Like if you start to count the leaves from the trees from here and there, but there's a root. And so I knew I had to go to the root. Now, actually, I did not invent that. That was always there. I was just the first one to see it. And how did I see it? I just had a good reason to give me the remedy, show me how I can go be rhythm, not just go into rhythm. It's also like I wouldn't take no for an answer, and I really had to go, you know, as deep as possible. So my drive was there to do that.
That's yeah, it's super interesting, and from like what you shared before, like it's really like you decoded like the steps to get into this connection with rhythm or experiencing your true nature, and or like or the you might describe it in other words.
In everything that happens in TaKeTiNa is a deep connection to your nervous system. For example, if you go in forward steps, you are not shifting your body weight a lot because otherwise you would go like back and forth. So when you do lateral steps, means sideward steps, and 80% of the TaKeTiNa steps are sidewards, you have a deep entrainment into your equilibrium, which is, you know, the balance in your ear. Now that connects with the sensor system and the motor system, so that means you are moving and sensing. Now, the sensor system is built in the first months of pregnancy. So it's the very first system that forms in the embryo. Then the motor system is not yet correlated to it. So in the very first stages, the embryo feels mother's movement, but doesn't react coordinated yet. And that gets more and more and more coordinated. That means the sensor motor system forms already in the mother's womb. But what you can feel in that intensity when you're in the mother's womb is gravity. So when you come out, the whole game starts. You see a baby, you see a toddler, you know, trying to get up, falling up, getting dry up. So that is now experiencing gravity. And so with the steps, you bring all these three systems together, sensor, motor, and equilibrium. And therefore, you get a very deep entrainment. If you would do just a step alone, first of all, it would be way too boring, and you wouldn't have an effect without the other layers. One of the entrance keys to TaKeTiNa is every layer is so simple that everyone can do it. Everyone could just clap like this, you know. But when you bring them together out of simplicity, arises complexity. And you're guided that you can choose actually on which level of complexity you want to be. And with this, you can expand complexity, which life is complexity. That means you're growing into complexity as you learn with TaKeTiNa and with rhythm. And so I think this was one of the reasons that I took so much time to find it really. And I said, oh, let's do this and let's do this. I really investigated after each session, where are we going? Do we have results? What are people talking? I learned basically from the people who came to my, I would call it, workshops or whatever, experiment workshops, you know. I didn't charge back then at all. It was just, I was curious how to run this because I was a pianist back then. So I had a good backing in music, and I had the freedom to try it out and try it out and try it out. And we had like 6 sessions, 7 sessions a week, you know, like really every day almost. And in this, with a deep meditation about everything that arises, all of a sudden I saw these laws unfolding in front of my eyes. And yes, of course, they were there all the time. Anyone else could have found it.
Super interesting. And what you said before, that also in terms of like disease, yeah, this training or this method can kind of like has an impact. And what I like have been thinking, also witnessing personally, how emotional well-being is connected with disease, and also if like we are energy vibrating with a certain frequency, it makes sense that maybe imbalances or like parts of the body not vibrating at the right frequency, or maybe energetical blockages because something has not been released from the past. And how would you like make sense of what I'm just saying, or like does it make sense what I'm saying, or like how would you connect that also with what you're doing, like trauma, emotional trauma, or like
okay, it's a little chaotic, but okay, let me go to that now.
Now comes the order.
We have right now a pandemic of depression, actually. That will only surface next year when we really see what the after effects of all these lockdowns is, of people losing their jobs, of people living in such uncertainty. Now, we have a research study with the Uniklinik Erlangen that should have started in August, but of course, because of Corona, we have to postpone it now to April. That is a 1-year trial, TaKeTiNa and depression, because we have already results that we now want to put in a clinical study with blood samples and all of that. I would say when you are, let me go from here. What is clear now is everyone knows that when you're depressed, your immune system goes down. But what we know now, if your immune system goes up, your depression goes down. So that means it's also the other way. Now, what we found in our researches, and it's documented by physicians, you can find this on our website, is that TaKeTiNa strengthens immensely the immune system through bringing you immediately into a better heart rate variability, which means you sleep better and all of that. And that strengthens the immune system, and in this way already kind of, heals depression in this way. But it's also that other thing that you move so much in TaKeTiNa, and of course, that's very well known. If you have a depressed person, say, come on, let's run together, and you're running, and come back, the depression is way less. So we will have to find something, I think, to counteract that tsunami of depression. And there's one more information that I want to really everyone to know. We have a nerve that's called the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve actually is the largest nerve, and because that's his name. He goes around everything from the sexual organs up to your brain, and it touches all the other organs. Now, the vagus nerve, if it's understimulated, your heart rate goes up, your nerves go weak, you are in not a good state. If your vagus nerve gets deep stimulation, your heart rate variability becomes really strong. And so stimulating the vagus nerve is one of the most important things we can do now in these times. The most simple thing would be just step out the door, take a deep breath, take the time, feel you can take anything in, and then with the exhalation, let it go out, and do this for some time. And already then you have already strengthened in some way your vagus nerve. But we have scientific proof that TaKeTiNa over 2-3 days dramatically stimulates the vagus nerve. So we have measured heart rate variability over weeks and months after that event, and it stays.
Ah, wow. So it's not just like dealing with the symptoms and then you have to continue doing it, but it really changes something.
Yes, it entrains the vagus nerve to again re-engage in the proper way. Because anything we see, if you train to think negatively every day and every day, that becomes so entrained in you that it's a reaction on whatever you see will be negative, and this has a deep influence on you. So basically you're training yourself to see everything negative. It's not anyone who has told you to do that. You're doing it to yourself. And so because we are masters of ourselves, we can also reverse it and teach ourselves how to stimulate the vagus nerve. Yes, it's dangerous. Yes, it's crazy times. But still, the same applies. What can I do in this situation? The challenge, for example, if I'm in a great state of strength in myself, every challenge, I say, a new opportunity. Let me see what opportunity. And so, that's how rhythm work and the deep art of living a fulfilled life is very interconnected for me.
And before you mentioned also that chaos is part of creating process, like yes. I'm using my words, and to recreate order, to then have chaos again and order, that is kind of a rhythm between the two.
Yes.
And does this realization changes the way you live, kind of like dealing with problems or challenges in a different way, because you might understand, hey, it's just like another chaos which I can use to create order? Or
you need to learn to deal with chaos in a creative way. If you just know it, it won't help you. Anything you just know can be a door opener, but it cannot really create results. You have to have a manifestation of that. For me, it was a door opener. Dr. Köppchen was one of the big physiologists. It was the very, very early stages of heart rate variability he brought about. And we had, he invited me actually to talk with him in the International Society for Music and Medicine. We had a great meeting in Los Angeles. Actually, Rancho Mirage, it's near Los Angeles, was like 2,000 physicians. And he invited me to talk about chaos in music, and he was talking about chaos processes in physiology. And that opened my, oh my God, if you remove chaos, we're all dead. That's the reality. Before I wouldn't have known that. I would think, what? It was really like this what moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then I researched and I looked and said, oh yes, my God, that is like this. And then I saw in this way how TaKeTiNa mirrors these natural processes. And actually, this is the only way how you can get an absolute beginner, or whatever you call this, a person without previous experience, in 3 days into these deep states of a groove. Or, manifesting rhythms that are really complex, only through this chaos and order phases, in the fluctuation of that. And of course, the chaos and order phases change in intensity. It's not the same. There's an evolution in that also. But then you land up in this moment where the realization is, and that's what I like in TaKeTiNa, it's not you sitting and you're not knowing, are you dreaming? Are you meditating? Are you sleeping? And I was in a Zen monastery in Korea for 9 months, and that was an amazing experience. We also learned drumming, and I love meditation. I do it every day, and yet TaKeTiNa is the much easier access for me to get into this empty space, because when I sit, even now, yes, it's getting better, but I still have these moments. Oh, I dreamt. Oh, I feel like, and that's why you have in Zen meditation, the guy with the shippei, like, yeah. But so for me, this was a very, very interesting thing, that you have no doubt if you are there, because you are there physically. If you have the compulsive thinking coming back, you lose the rhythm immediately. They fall out again. So it's a real pristine moment of being rhythm itself. I always knew that is what I'm looking for. Not doing rhythm or doing rhythm really good, but being the rhythm itself.
And would you then say it's like, I am like, if I like would join you in a 3-day course, for example, and like I would it like me being learning it, or would it rather be like remembering it and tuning into something which is anyway there already, or is it like
Yeah, of course, it's just the second one. You cannot in 3 days. You cannot just. I cannot teach you something, in a way that this complexity would arise. No, I actually, with your help. This is not something you impose on people. Like, if you come and you open to this, I help you to unlock that doors that lead you to remember that roots of rhythm that reside in you. That's simple as it is.
I like I can tell you, I started your online introductory course. Yeah,
Oh, really?
yeah, I got very, very intrigued, and
We have still to work on that. Have to apologize. We just jumped into that. So
mhm.
I find out for online that many of those things are much too complex. So we are now going for a full launch in March 1st, where we kind of fine tune the things. And now we put already in sound meditation and inner visualization. And we will make the guided rhythm meditations in a way much simpler also. I mean, I had to learn with my film guy. There's a second film guy is my kind of target. If he can do it, and he's very, very out of sync, if he can say, okay, maybe many other people can't do it either. And so I went down to even simpler and simpler and simpler. That's my way right now. By keeping the complexity in its of the TaKeTiNa rhythm itself, but start really, really simple and get everyone on board. So that will change.
Yeah, of course, we will add all the information to the show notes so that everybody is invited to experience that themselves. And you like used the term before, polyrhythm.
Mhm.
Is that's like different rhythms at the same time?
Oh, there's an apocalyptic battle about this whole terminology.
Oh, okay.
No, but I can explain it very easy. Our problem in Europe, and I'm a European musician. I really honor our foundation. I'm composing on a score.
Mhm.
But what's the problem with that is we have a meter and a bar. And if you go to Africa, there's no meter, no bar. If you go to India, there's no meter, no bar. So we are addressing the primary rhythmic movements, pulse, cycle, subdivision, in different ways. Polyrhythm means there are more than one rhythm. Now I can say, okay, if I have like da 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 da, and I have da 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 da, there are two rhythms, but
Mhm.
they are not polyrhythms because in the matrix underneath, they all swing on the same thing, so they have
Mhm.
a common matrix. In the polyrhythms, two rhythms don't have the same matrix. one is moving 3 times while another one is moving 2 times. So they meet in distances and in between go their own way. So that's defining a polyrhythmic relationship. And I think a lot of people now use a terminology I have introduced in the 80s or so, like double time, offbeat. All this has not existed really as a terminology because it comes out of this looking at the matrix, looking at the inaudible information underneath the music. Because in the audible, it's all different in Europe, in India, in Korea. But in the inaudible, it's not different. And that's why looking at the inaudible, you can understand, if you really learn this, you can understand every music that you hear, no matter where it comes from, no matter how strange it sounds.
And is that something, like when you had those discoveries, is that a sudden insight? Is that you sitting there and scratching your head? Or is that like a moment of clarity where just like the matrix opens and you have those insights? Or like how?
It's all of it, but it's actually what Brian called yesterday fast falling forward. That means you're failing, you're failing, you're failing. You're always running into a wall. But you're never giving up, you know, this is part of the journey. And as I said, we were drumming till our hands were bleeding. And you can say, no, Reinhard, you shouldn't have done all of that. You should have right away found, no, I had to do everything to narrow down where I want to go. And so I do believe every real thing comes out of failing fast forward. I learned this with the seals. I learned it with, you know, with my TaKeTiNa evolution. It's really the way you're asking nature, hey, what's my next move? And nature says, try it out. Then you run boom into, no, this was a wall. Go the other way. Here's something. And then when you do that, you have moments of, oh my God. I mean, I was just really contemplating, what is this essence? And I was going through Vienna for nights and nights from one coffee house to the other, just contemplating. Of course, that's not the most efficient way of doing it, but I was getting so obsessed with the ideas, you know. And then I had to let it go again because I hit the wall, I couldn't go on. And then all of a sudden, in the next practical thing, it dawns. That is it. So that's how kind of really asking nature, please give me answers.
Okay, that's interesting.
I mean, asking nature is basically, if you, I'm in for that, saying, well, to the creator, give me an answer, please, you know.
So literally like having this intention, this focus, and channeling your energy into that, and
don't get obsessed with compulsive thinking, and constructing, you know, and controlling.
And is like you explained before, polyrhythm. Is that also like I know if you've seen a symphonic polyrhythm, and you're orchestrating, composing music based on those principles, or just?
Yeah, we are just on the very beginning. Look, we are now recording it, which also, if you have an orchestra, is like a huge financial thing. But so as soon as we are out, people will discover what we do with TaKeTiNa Symphonic is as new as Steve Reich's minimal music. You know, minimal music was this big hit back then. Steve Reich has done it. Then also Philip Glass, that I know very well, has done it. And that was a composition style that you can define. Oh, that's all based on this minimal pulsation. And now this is the first composition, and you can look it up, where you have constant polyrhythm with a harmonic progression and melodies on hybrid lines. Like you have a melody that's on a shifted 6 over a additive 9. That's really complex in a structure, but it's also very simple if you see it in a mandala. However, to play this, there is so much energy of tension and relaxation between that, you know, it was really difficult to play with. This is a world-class orchestra. And after the first rehearsal, we had to say, well, we don't know if we can really do that. because they couldn't play it. Sounded horrible. And it took 2 more, and then this was the same process like in TaKeTiNa. Uwe Groth, who was the conductor, went there and did the right things. He let the horns play with the strings, this really far apart rhythms. And once they found where it is, they fell in. So it's like in TaKeTiNa, and all of a sudden, in no time, in 2 rehearsals, the whole orchestra locked in. And you probably have seen the video, so it's really boom. And it's almost unplayable because we have partly 6 meters in it, 6 pulsations correlating with each other. And what I like in it, it sounds actually not complicated at all. If you listen to this music, everyone says, what is polyrhythmic? It just sounds very normal. Yes, thank you very much. That's the biggest compliment you can give me, because anything that sounds complicated, who wants to listen to that?
And what have you received like for feedback, or how is it affecting listeners listening to this work of art, or different way of?
I think almost like Stravinsky, like when we played this in Auckland, this is the great classic hall with old people, you know, it's really the establishment. They were jumping, screaming, putting their feet like, I mean, this was like, what's going on here? Uwe said he's never ever experienced this ever in this hall. So people get kind of out of their mind into their body. I think this was just a physiological reaction. So it's not like they liked it so much, so they stamped it. It was almost like, you know, when Stravinsky played his Sacre de Printemps for the first time, he used the orchestra as a rhythm generator. Boom, 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 boom. No one has done this before. And there are lots of reports about people booed, saying, oh no, shit, you can't do that, you know? And at the same time, they have just moved with the rhythm at the same time. So the body says, yes. The mind says, no way, you can do that. And so this is the amazing thing that what I've seen so far in both compositions, waves and space, that people really go out of their mind into their body, and they have these huge reactions. You have the huge reactions on it. This is all I can tell you so far. And we intend to really bring this more and more out now.
Yeah, I've listened to it, and it was very beautiful. It was. And would you say that it has a similar effect than like participating in the training you facilitate, like just listening to it, like kind of are those do those words make sense, like to go into resonance, or like with like
they are door openers. It's like, you know, when you listen to it, you feel something deep inside. But this, of course, as I said, to get back to this profound experience, I am rhythm, you need to do something. It's not just coming flowery. It is work. People go through extreme states. Like, what really touches me there is this training with CEOs. They're all people who have so much power and so much, you know, achieved in their life. And now I see someone not getting the Ma clap and getting completely out of his mind about that. You know? I was seeing people crying. So this is a process that goes through extreme challenge, release, and all the emotional roller coaster in a way, to finally end up in, that is illusion. And beyond the illusion, and of course it's reality at the same time, but finally it's illusion, and behind this is the stillness, which is at the same time movement. So if you would ask, let's say 200 people to come to a workshop, in the very first moment, please, let's do an experiment. Let's just sit half an hour still. And if everyone can do it, everyone gets €100. No one ever will get any cents for that. No group can do this like this. So then you do 2 days TaKeTiNa, and in the evening I play like, I let them drum, very simple 1-beat drumming, going into gong meditation. And the gong is gone, 20 minutes, no movement. And why is that? Because now stillness and movement are together, have merged, are one.
You intrigue me even more. One of the things I also saw that you mentioned, like, your training or performances as a journey. Like, you describe it as a journey, and
it is a inner journey for sure.
But I'm also referring to your polyrhythmic compositions, like that you like kind of like listener, or like maybe you like you're embarking on a journey with a certain motivation or intention for you as a creator or the listener.
Of course. Now, if you play great music, you're always taking your listener to a journey. Otherwise, why listen to this music if it doesn't take you on a journey? It always should, when it touches your emotions, when it touches your sensations, you are on a journey. And I think every musician understands that, and every musician wants to take the listener on a journey. There are different ways to do that. The songwriter includes text, and so there are many ways to do that, but I think this is a commonality that we all share as musicians, to take the audience, the listener, on a journey. And just as you, as a podcaster, I think, want to take the people on a journey to experience new angles and so on.
Absolutely. And I want to be respectful of your time. And like, is there something you would recommend to someone who's intrigued, wants to connect to nature rhythm themselves? What would be your recommendation or best advice?
Well, I mean, what I do every day is that's a ritual. You're getting up and you dust off the night, and you drink a glass of water. You go out, and first thing you take this deep breathing in. Now you might not feel, oh, I'm in bliss. You might feel grumpy, but that actually will fade away. Now, the thing I recommend, come home and you feel restless and driven. Take a moment, sit down, be restless and driven. Put a little space around it. As the space grows, the restlessness and this kind of being driven goes back, and all of a sudden you are in a different world. So don't forget, you are the master of your life. Everyone. It just needs that moment that we usually don't do. We all know we could. There's a floor. I can right now do push-ups, but I don't do them because I'm too lazy, whatever. So it's always up to us to do it. And so that's what I learned is, know the consequences. If you are too lazy to evolve, you're missing out on life. You're missing, like, not bringing yourself into the here and now. And rhythm is the master tool to bring you here and now. It's the only place where life happens. There's no other place where life ever can happen. Life is always now and never not now. You can think about the future, you can think about the past, but life is always now and not now. And so if you miss out on now because you're in la la land, or you're agitated and think back and forth, you're missing out on life And life in our body has a time span that we can use. And if we once come to this end of it, then all of a sudden you recognize, I missed out on so many occasions to experience life fully.
Beautiful. Are there ways to, what are the ways to experience what you're doing? Like
Well, you can. I mean, I think Corona will open up again some time, and we are giving workshops all over Europe, the US, Brazil, Australia. You just go to TaKeTiNa, just as you speak, .com. You can also go to thepowerofrhythm.com, where you find my podcast, and there's a link to TaKeTiNa as well. There's a link to the TaKeTiNa Symphonic and MegaDrums, and all the projects I've done. Yeah, and whatever might interest you, might call you, go along with it, or just praise. That's helping too.
Yeah, what better words to close this amazing conversation. Thank you very much, dear Reinhard. Yeah, I really appreciate what you're doing, and totally support your commitment to educate about rhythm, which is the most fundamental power of life, as we learned today. And in the show notes, we will share all the resources discussed today, also your social media details, web pages, etc., so people can learn more. And to you, dear listener, if you would like to what you heard, please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Check out Reinhard's work, and please share this episode with your friends to really make a difference and bring this amazing information to more people. Dear Reinhard, I want to thank you again for who you are, taking the time here to share your experience and wisdom with us. And as you know, here at Beyond, here it's about looking beyond our individual limited perception to make sense of the world, discover a bigger picture, and wake up to our true nature and potential. And it's a true honor to travel on this journey together. And I'm really looking forward to see you again.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.